welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. NumberNIne.
And this is The Fool.
This is where me and The Fool give our
Unqualified and unrequested
ramblings on the various issues in the world of sport.
or something like that.
Hello everyone, and welcome today to the 11th of December 2022 here in Auckland, New Zealand,
Yeah.
where we have just completed the quarterfinals and the round of 16. Many apologies that we couldn't get a podcast in for the round of 16 to review it, but we just couldn't find any.
No, yeah. We tried. We really tried, but yeah, it didn't work out.
If only we had a rich patron to pay us money to do this all the time. Pay our
Or
bill.
could be lots of medium-rich ones as well, Any of these.
That's true. That too. Either or.
Either or. If
We're not fussy.
No.
We're happy to be beholden to capital.
Yeah, 100%. We can be bought.
Yes, absolutely. So let us get through to the rounds of 16.
Yeah.
First up, Netherlands versus the USA, 3-1. Great game. Great performance from the Netherlands. And you gotta love it. Right after the game, Louis van Gaal started playing mind games with Brazil, who they weren't even gonna face face in the next round yet.
Gotta love Louis.
But yeah, no spoilers. Louis van Gaal has been on fire this tournament.
Yes,
Just incredibly good. Just like is this the last time we're gonna see a team like the Netherlands? Like a team that is both materialistic, it uses what it does, but has that philosophy, that Dutch philosophy of we figure out a way to get our best players in, and get the best out of them.
Yeah.
Like Louis van Gaal is like the master of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I guess it's coming from having the ideology of, doing the best of what we've got. But just the ideology is the materiality part of it.
Yeah, and also not afraid to do things that he might get criticized for. I think we can all agree Louis van Gaal has an ego, definitely a proud man, but doesn't give a shit about criticism.
Yeah.
He's not a fragile ego.
No, not at all. He has a lot of confidence, self-belief in what he's doing.
Yeah.
The ego is so big, you say it's not fragile in any way. It's self-sustaining.
Now, what the USA, what do we think? Just because they're the team that got eliminated in the knockouts. They did have some good showings, I thought, in the World Cup, but not enough goals, once again.
Yeah.
Pulisic is not a striker.
No, exactly. I think that was our question leading into this match, was where were the goals coming from for USA? And I guess it just showed, the whole tournament, where are the goals coming for them?
Yeah, they have 4 years to figure that out. I mean, I think they've got an exciting bunch of players, and the USA can probably, because they're not necessarily the best team in their continent, and to be fair, they will not be playing qualifiers.
Yeah.
So their coaching staff will have the ability to impose a style of play. There's an issue, an international level that kind of mimics what happens to Norwich every season. They absolutely destroy the championship. No hope, hell, for anyone else. And then they can't play like that in the Premiership. It's not viable for them.
No, exactly.
And a lot of teams that are excellent in qualifying, like Canada, were excellent by being attacking and credit to them for sticking to their principle and what makes them good.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can't do that against a team that's better than you.
Yeah.
You're here to, it's one of those, are you here to fuck around or play golf? And, if
the
other team's also better at you than at golf, then, you have to fuck around a bit.
Pretty much, yeah. No, it's very much about the same as Norwich, right? There's teams that are coming through having played a particular brand, a particular style that worked well in the federation and the qualifiers and through, but you get to here and it's just not suitable. And you can either go the Norwich way and just be we're here playing this way, we're going to continue playing this way. Or, you try to adapt and change, but then you find yourselves not playing style that fits you, and not used to it, and people aren't sure what they're doing, and then that doesn't work either. So it's a little bit damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing, and we'll get into it, like the manager's conundrum when they're at international level. So in the next round, we've got Argentina and Australia. Australia after a very, very credible performance in this World Cup go out.
Mm.
I think they can be justifiably proud of what they've
Yeah.
achieved. And they were not. They were. They played well in that game against Argentina, just not good enough on the day to beat them.
They got pretty close to pushing
Yeah.
that into extra time. I mean, Argentina
Yes.
was reasonably comfortable, and then Australia made it very uncomfortable. And they say that last kick of the game, basically, well, pretty much last kick of the game, almost got in. But yeah, Martinez managed to get some of his body in the way somehow and kept it out. But yeah, Australia definitely showed that they were not pushovers
They were
and
good
not
for
just
potential.
also runs.
Yeah, they're definitely good for a potential first-time quarterfinals appearance. And
Second time.
second
They
time.
would have been good for the first time quarterfinals. Yeah, second time round of 16.
Next up we have France versus Poland. The game that you called correctly, France winning and winning well.
Winning well, winning
like
better than
France,
I thought. But yeah.
They basically demolished that defense when they could. After they got that first goal, Poland had to attack. There's not much they could do, but I think the Poles, yeah, it's what we expect. They were good enough to make the second round, but if they faced a top tier team, they weren't gonna go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much the answer there is that France was just too good, and they didn't make it through, which is exactly what I was thinking. I thought that Poland's defense was pretty good, which is where you were coming from in your point. And that would be hard for France to score, but in the end France scored reasonably easily. But as you say, that was getting a nice early-ish goal, and then Poland has to chase the game, and that just opens up
Game
opportunities.
state makes a difference.
Yeah.
In a real-time strategy game.
And it's now knockout, right? So you can't hold back and just stem the tide and hope for a equalizer. You do have to push forward. So, and anytime a team's pushing forward and trying to attack, that's more chances the other way. And a team like France is just way too good not to.
Like very few teams have the sheer patience of Croatia to do what they do.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll get into Croatia because definitely interesting things to say about them. And we had England versus Senegal. You and I both picked Senegal, but England easily winning, deserved winners, good performance, and this was a good team they played. Senegal side that's depleted, but England I think expectedly won for their home fans because of the depletions for Senegal. But I think once again Senegal, good tournament. Unfortunately, you draw a good team like England, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. We thought that Senegal was going to step up and work here, and also we were imagining England to stumble. But the English team, I think this was that game against Senegal was probably one of their best games of the tournament. They played really well, clinical, scored, and didn't really make it look like Senegal could score. Like it was never in doubt that game.
Whisper it quietly. Maybe Joseph Guardiola's interested in a certain Jude Bellingham after his performance for England.
Yeah,
bunch of City players around him. And also previously been very good with an Erling Haaland in front of him.
Yeah. It's probably going to happen, but dear God, yeah. But it's just called City getting like the next 5 premierships or whatever.
Yeah. And that's the rebuild. It's done. Haaland, Bellingham, done.
Yeah, done.
City, so efficient.
Dear.
So Then we had our next game, Japan versus Croatia. I think Japan put up a very, very good performance against
Yeah,
Croatia. Look, it went to penalties. Croatia is experts at winning at penalties,
I think
and they
Croatia's
won at
it's just about
penalties.
Croatia's just about experts at taking knockout World Cup games, taking them to extra time, taking them to penalties, and winning in penalties. That seems to be their thing. It's like really just you say
Not
they
in a
don't panic.
boring way that
No,
they are uber defensive. They're just like,
no.
this is the thing. Like there are passing teams and there are passing teams. Germany and Spain seem to be obsessed with playing the perfect game of football.
Yeah,
Like scoring the perfect goal, executing the perfect set move with passing,
yeah, yeah,
getting it done. And Croatia does that, but not because it's like it is an ideology thing, but it's also a material thing. They've got three incredible passers in that
yeah,
middle of that midfield. The itches uh, with mm, uh, with Luka Modric, uh, Kovacevic, and Brozovic.
yeah.
Just in that central three, just controlling everything,
They do, and
keeping
they
it.
do that so well. Like it's
They
amazing
do.
watching the three of them.
Croatia are happy to just keep passing the ball, make very few mistakes, walk around, and they'll wait for you to make a mistake. That's their game. And if you're not patient and you know, and you
Yeah,
make and you screw up somewhere, they will pounce because they have really good passers who can progressively pass the ball. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah.
and but if they don't score, they don't lose their patience. They don't lose their
No.
rag. They just stay the course.
And even if
Like,
someone scores against them, they don't suddenly change tactics or anything. They have a lot of trust in that system that they will score a goal.
also, like, what can they do? They don't have the players.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a thing if you are a like a team that has something in the wings to wait and bring up along. But I think they unfortunately England don't sorry Croatia don't have any players like that. Fortunately or unfortunately, so they know
Mm,
their style and they have to trust the system.
yeah,
And these players have played together so long that it's almost may as well be a club side because they know each
yeah,
other's game so well.
yeah. And it
Um,
shows as well. I mean, I know we both said in the previous podcast we thought they were getting a bit old, and that we thought the Japan game was perhaps going to be too far for them, and that the Croatia was a Spain and Germany version
Japan could
3,
have
but
won.
yeah,
Yeah, this was a game Japan could have won. Sorry, excuse me.
yeah,
But yeah, they once it went to penalties, you knew Croatia had the edge just because
yeah, yeah,
everybody in that team was so calm. Yeah, unfortunately, poor performance in the penalty shootouts, like three misses.
yeah,
Very, very. So I think, but Japan will be happy with their performance this World Cup. Really
yeah.
good, two great wins against two great teams,
Oh,
and
exactly.
almost got it done with Croatia.
I mean, you have to give something to Croatia's goalkeeper, like Livakovic.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So good in these penalties, so good shot in all this. Like,
Yeah,
it looks impossible to get past sometimes.
yeah.
Like, it's just amazing.
Livakovic is just incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah. With the with that, next on we had the last Asian team, which was South Korea. Um, yeah, Brazil did Brazil
Brazil.
things.
They really did. Like that first half was just Braziling it, 100%.
Yeah,
They just
and
it was
they
amazing.
didn't give they didn't give the Korea Republic any opportunities to come back in that game.
No,
They never looked like losing. They conceded a goal at one point and then didn't panic. Just scored another one to go back to a three goal lead.
no, they'd scored 4 in the first half. So
Hey.
it was 4. The first half was 4-0 by the end of the first half.
Oh, you're right too.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. Beg your
but yeah,
pardon.
but they still didn't panic when Japan scored their goal because they had plenty of buffer and they just shut back up and just did their thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Um, Then we had the Morocco versus Spain. What a game this was.
Yeah.
0-0, but that would tell you none of the message. Morocco if we looked at it based on passes, it would be basically 250 to 1,200. This is the game that typifies why you cannot be so idealistic at the World
Yeah.
Cup. Like, I know Spain are picking a version of themselves that has the best players, and they have Morata up front. I mean,
Mm.
to be fair to Spain, who else do they have? He is
Yeah.
the best striker if you're gonna play a striker, and Spain did play a striker, so there is a certain level of pragmatism to their game, but it was built on like we're good at passing, let's double down on what we're good at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's unfortunate for them. They're a very, very good side. Really, really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Um, really good players. While I love that Morocco went ahead to the quarterfinals, um, but I was sad to see Spain go. But yeah, well done to them. They're going to be an incredible team to come up against in Germany in 2024. They're going to be a threat.
Oh yes, 100%. Yeah, that Spain team's very good. Say just a little bit unfortunate for them. They just came up with a team that just had their number. As you say, ridiculous stats on the passing. You say 1,000 to 300, and Spain's at 90% pass accuracy as well. So that's lots of passes going to people. Just
Few
not in an
mistakes.
area that's threatening. So they had one shot on target.
Yeah.
So that just I think that just shows everything because that Morocco just outfoxed them as well, and was
Yeah.
yeah,
It was a chess game that ended in a draw, and then you decided to have a penalty shootout.
yeah.
Morocco won.
Oh well, and in that one, it definitely like the Spanish players just didn't look like they wanted to take those penalties, whilst the Moroccans
Oh yeah,
were a lot more determined,
absolutely.
just in the way they walked up to it as well, and that's like most of the way there for a penalty shootout. You've got the
Yeah,
confidence, you know.
and and Bono was in incredible form, and he has been in incredible
Oh
form
yeah,
all.
that also
Like
helps as well.
Morocco have only conceded one goal so far at this World
Yeah,
Cup, so that's an amazing performance.
that is amazing. It's just crazy.
Yeah. In the last game of the round of 16, we had Portugal versus Switzerland.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that game live from beginning to end. I still don't believe what I saw. What an incredible performance from Portugal. Like, I think they immediately almost became favorites for the tournament after that.
Yeah, 100%.
Because without Ronaldo as well,
Yeah,
came off the bench later on to make a bit of a cameo.
yeah,
But yeah, they
and that's pretty much all it was a cameo for him. Like,
yeah
yeah, it was definitely the Ramos show. Like, yeah,
yeah.
that was a crazy game and just amazing.
So this is where like we're gonna talk a bit about it like. Like Portugal, they've got a coach who's been there for a long time. I think he is about to retire, so they will have a new. But they have a great young squad. I don't know if Cristiano
Mm,
Ronaldo will be there for Euro 2024. He might be,
maybe, who knows?
but
Possible actually, I guess. But do
he'll
they
be
need him?
like really the veteran of this
Yeah,
great young core of Portuguese players that are here to. They can take Portugal forward. Like Portuguese football is producing incredibly talented players.
yeah, they really are.
So I think they can go. I think they'll be a good team in the next World Cup as well.
Yeah, yeah,
But Switzerland, yeah, very disappointing for them. They just, after putting in all that hard work to get here, they just had a really bad game where they lost their egg.
yeah, yeah. And to me, it really just showed that perhaps this was as far as they could go. They met Portugal and they weren't good enough to push Portugal at all. Like that was just seemed it was too far for them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, then we go to the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
We had Croatia versus Brazil. Another incredible performance from Croatia.
so amazing.
I think we can agree.
Yeah,
Just like it looked like Neymar had sent his country through with with an early extra time goal, like a
yeah.
clutch goal as well
It was
from Neymar.
clutch. It was very good. End of that first half of extra time, Neymar just did Neymar stuff and was like, you know what, I'm winning this game. But apparently it wasn't to be.
Yeah. Croatia don't give up, and like we said, they don't
No.
panic. They live by the what's not really the sword, is it? More
No.
like they live by the bow staff and they die by the bow staff.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. It was another one of those crazy, like, as well, like last minute final kicks of the game that keep them in as well. It was just,
Yeah,
it was an
uh,
amazing game, as you say, and
it was an
full of
incredible game.
full of all sorts of different bits of football drama. As you say, like spent most of the game, like well, the original 90 minutes, chess on grass, definitely. Croatia doing their thing. Brazil flare on both sides, all around the park, looking for it, not quite getting to it. A little bit of fire showing up, and but Croatia continue on. Uh, get to extra time. Some Neymar brilliance, and then you say just Croatia not giving up and just trusting that they're going to get it, and they do.
Um, look, Croatia doing Croatia things. I think we
Yeah,
can agree with that.
yeah. And then yeah,
The best
managed to.
game of yeah, that's the thing. Now there were so many good games in this
Yeah,
quarterfinals, so I enjoyed every single one of them. But Netherlands versus Argentina was the best game of the tournament, in
oh,
my opinion.
it was amazing, but also nerve-wracking. As an Argentine fan, like you're just like, how could they throw that away? But
Like
they
I
did,
was
so it's okay.
I was gonna bring it back to this conversation about Louis van Gaal. Man, he almost got them through with this tournament. But like this was how bad was the refereeing in this game? Like it's incredibly like
I not spoilers for the one of the future games. I think I actually thought this wasn't the worst refereeing. There was a lot of yellow cards thrown around. He seemed
there
like
was
the ref.
there was not enough yellow cards thrown around at the beginning, including like when Lionel Messi played volleyball with the ball. And then there was basically to make up for it a flurry of cards. Like, who the heck gives somebody a yellow card during a penalty shootout when they're waiting behind? Like, it's within your right, don't get me wrong, but like, let it go at that point.
Yeah, that game just got very very testy. There was plenty of niggle both ways, and everybody seemed to be wanting to have their say, whether they were on the field at the time or not. And yeah, it's I don't know. It's about at one point the ref had just sort of got himself into lost a bit of control. Yellow cards were just getting thrown, and he was struggling to get it back. Um, he did sort of feel like he got it back, and then it would slip out again. So there was a little bit on the players there of just being very
Just if he had stamped his authority early on, the
yeah,
players wouldn't have gotten out of line to begin with. Like, because at that point, when you're trying to make up for previous and you start doing too many cards, the players just don't respect you.
no. Well,
They're just
the problem is it was already out of control, right? So if it's already out of control, throwing cards around doesn't help anything because everybody's all fired up anyway. So it's not diffusing any situations, just adding fuel to the fire. Same point, it's hard not to hand out cards because everybody's all extra aggressive about things and things are being said and tackles are flying in. You sort of need to, but yeah, it is one of those things. If you lost control as a ref in any sport, it's really hard to get it back because you have to be suddenly have to be on top of everything and you have to be
it's
yeah
one
just
thing I admire about rugby union, where the refs just be like, guys, we're adults here.
Yeah.
Just be adults. Like the first time something out of order, like they just come like he's not brandishing cards. You're like, guys, we're adults here. I
Yeah.
don't want to treat you like children. Let's just make a game of it, and like get stop this silliness, and
There is
then
a
be like,
Yeah, there's a lot to be said to just calling the captains over and just having a word and being like, "This is getting silly. Let us exactly. We're adults. Let's adult this a little bit. Just go see your teams and just calm down." And there's a little bit in football that doesn't happen. It happens in rugby. It happens in hockey. That as a hockey ref, that's definitely something that happens. Things are getting out of control. Sometimes the easiest way is just to call the captains over and say, "Go, go get your teams in a huddle. Have a quick chat. Things have got a bit silly here. Let's just take a
I think
moment,
also, to be
reset.
fair to
Don't let me throw the cards."
yeah, and look, and to be fair to rugby union refs, they totally go if a player goes, but sir, this happened, and they'll go, ah, shit, I didn't think about that. You're right,
Yeah,
and like actually change their call, and they have the power to do that, and like it's a grown-up sport, like it's
yeah, yeah.
it's so rough and like hard and athletic, and tempers flare in rugby games. I'm not saying it's not passionate, right?
No,
And
you get very
like
passionate sometimes.
and like and it has like athleticism and adrenaline pumping through, but like at the end of the day, the ref has an open door policy. Like
Yeah,
you can come to him with like, I don't think this is right, like come on, and they're like the ref could be like, yep, okay, I understand, but this is the way I ref, this is what you're gonna get. It's gonna be consistent though, and then you can't complain. If it's consistent, it's consistent.
and the other thing is the ref. If you come and be like, "Oh, ref, they're doing this and blah 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 blah," and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'll watch from this side, the other side of the ruck next time, and just make sure." Like that's the ref. I think the difference there is the refs do play will lean into the, "Hey, we're only human, we can only blow what we see," and the players sort of, and because the refs take that and say, "We're only going to blow what we see, we'll do our best to try and see the stuff, and if you point out that shit's happening on the other side, we'll go around the other side occasionally and just keep an eye on it." But everyone, like, there's no big I am the word and the way and everything, and nothing else. Only what I say is correct. They're like, "No, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. If I don't see it, I can't call it. So I'm going to call what I see. And if you don't like that, you know, I'll try to call better next time, I guess." And that seems to be something that works really well with the players accepting that the refs are also human, and therefore
Yeah.
will make mistakes. And they go, "Oh, they made a mistake." And the other thing being that rugby seemed somewhat embraced video replays reasonably well. So the refs, if something has happened, the refs aren't afraid to be like, "Hey, well, I didn't see it. Let's go look at the video replay. Let's get a video replay of this, and I'll see what different angles I can see. Something weird's happened. Let's see if we can find a video replay of it. Put it on the big screen. I'll have a watch myself, and then I can come up with what the decision is."
Yeah.
I guess a little bit of that is that rugby being always been a very stop-start game anyway, sort of lent itself a little bit to the extra stoppages of the ref being like, "I'll have a bit of a think about this then."
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
football doesn't
Absolutely.
quite have that, but yeah.
And I think this is the thing. Like the Premier League tried to introduce that with that respect campaign, and
Mm,
this is the problem. Managers immediately undermined it.
yeah.
So what can captains do if the behavior from the top is, make the job as difficult for referees as possible?
Yeah.
Like it's a thing, and it's a problem in football because you're not getting people wanting to do the job. It's too stressful. It costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's gonna be a problem because you're gonna get to the point where people who have the potential to be good referees are probably not gonna follow through with that career because it's difficult and very stressful, and you'll
Yeah.
get people who genuinely seem to think they want to be the center of attention.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
You,
gonna
you
get the wrong type of person who wants the job.
well, you're gonna get the type of person that fits the mold that you're shaping. And if the mold you're shaping is you have to be very dictatorial and very look at me, and I'm the center of attention, and everything matters to me. That's what you're going to get. And at the moment, that is what football is molding their referees, or the position of the referee into. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, so like refereeing aside, I think this game, two goats, right? Lionel Messi, Louis van Gaal.
Yeah. It was, I mean, the game itself, was just a roller coaster of everything.
Like we're gonna give Messi his plaudits because we're gonna go through the rest of the quarterfinals, and obviously we're gonna talk about him.
Yeah.
Like as no spoilers for reasons why. But like Louis van Gaal goes out with a bang, I think, for the
Yeah,
Netherlands,
yeah.
showing everybody his why he's such a good manager, so highly regarded, why the
Yeah.
players he, in Holland, like the Dutch team,
Yeah.
absolutely love him. I know he's gonna retire, and it's he's deserves to go out into the sunset with a game like this,
Yeah.
just coming out
Oh,
with.
and the thing was, this game was like a managerial masterpiece from the Netherlands. 2-0 down, he throws on two big centre forwards, changed the shape, changed the strategy, and it was a masterclass. It just worked, and it just,
And I think
Netherlands
he'll
crazy.
also let his players feel it through. Like
Yeah.
they were like, look, we're putting it out there. Let's see what they do to react to our big guys
Mm.
coming into the box. Oh, look, we're playing actual long ball. How can they deal with it? Oh, they seem a bit nervous. What do you guys think? Let's keep
It's
hitting it. Like
just,
Argentina just had no answer for the long ball.
no.
It's a bit of a pity that in extra time the Netherlands went back to a more defensive shape because I always
Yeah.
feel as a Netherlands fan I don't like penalty shootouts. Like we've only ever won in in a major tournament that was against Costa Rica where Tim Krul famously came on.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Once again, Louis van Gaal
Yeah.
engineering something incredible.
Yeah.
Just it's one of those things. Like Louis van Gaal is like the classic mix of ideal material. Like the Netherlands have an ideal. They have a philosophy. They know what the country but it's designed by the material because they know that their country produces a lot of really good attacking players who know
Yeah,
how to
yeah.
pass, know their system well. So he's not married to the we have to be a 3-4-3 classic Ajax system or a 4-3-3. He goes with his formations are fluid because that's the classic Dutch way. The whole
Yeah, yeah.
total football we decide positions are decided by game state,
Yeah.
not by pre-design pre-game
Yeah.
plans.
Yeah. They're not predetermined shapes, just say. It's total football. It's what is the game like? Where do we need to be?
But also, he's happy to go. It's total football. We're doing things, but also we've got a big man up there. What do you
Yeah.
guys think you should do? Just think about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is what's gonna happen." And I think really a really good performance from the Netherlands to come back from that.
Yeah.
It's always bad sign when the first penalty is saved
Yeah.
in a penalty shootout.
I
Like
think that is a really important penalty. Like, you need to keep your team on the front foot. And yeah, missing the first penalty is just not a good start.
and the Argentinian goalkeeper saving two penalties from the Netherlands.
Yeah, yeah. The
It
first two
proved
as well,
to be
just yeah.
yeah, the first two just a gap too far in the end. And the Argentinians make it through with a tense,
Yeah.
tense penalty shootout into the next round.
Yeah.
Uh, Next, then we had the second game of the quarterfinals, as I like to call it. Morocco versus Portugal. Historic game. Congratulations to Morocco, the first
Yeah.
African to make a semi-finals. You and
So
I
amazing.
have been calling an African team to make the semi-finals every World Cup probably since Cameroon 1990.
Yes.
It's
Finally, it's happened.
finally happened.
Yeah. And yeah, I say it's Morocco as well, and they're a really good team. So it's yeah.
An incredible team, like so well organized, so well coached. I think it's very there's some interesting things that Morocco's done, like overall, like the coaching team, because he's only been at the job for 3 months. Like there's been a lot of talk in football blogs and especially Tifo today earlier after the game. They're discussing about the problem with being an international manager. I think it's important we get into it because I think a lot of the games demonstrated that.
Mm.
At the World Cup, a lot of teams are in that position because somebody in the comments at the T4 live stream went, "Oh yeah, we just shouldn't bother with national managers. The players should just decide what they want to do." In
Oh,
games, 90% of the time they'll probably be better.
yeah.
And there's a logic to that, but sort of
I can see it.
Morocco kind of typifies that. Like he's only been at the job for 3 months.
Yeah.
Their current manager. Um, the he took over. He managed to convince Ziyech and Hakimi to come back into the team. He's kept he's got a philosophy that the team buys into and clearly know how to play.
Yeah.
They've had injuries galore, so the team definitely have good spirits because they've come back from losing players, injuries to which has led to led them to be more resilient. And this
Yeah.
is things because he talked about like because he's an African coach or an Arab coach, and he only gets opportunities to work in Asia and Africa,
Yeah.
and he'll never get a job like at a club like Manchester City. He explicitly said and he only got the Morocco job after Hassan Salihamidzic, who's like a veteran international coach, incredible, very good coach.
Yeah.
Had just basically lost the dressing room, quote unquote,
Ah.
and had to leave 3 months ago. And he came in, and because he won the Africa Champions League with Raja Casablanca.
All right.
Um,
Yeah.
so he's had to do the hard yards, and he's gone as far as he can with the opportunities that'll be given to him, unfortunately,
Yeah. Mm.
uh, because of his background, and because he's never played in like a European, top European club.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
not doesn't get opportunities to manage in Europe, and doesn't get opportunities to uh, you know so he has to find his work where he can get it, and that's usually Middle East and North Africa.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's taken Morocco through. He's shown the value of his football, I think. Um, and these are the interesting things. Like the Moroccan team their families and children are allowed to stay with them at their hotel.
Oh, nice.
So that's been producing a lot of great scenes after games. Like the kids of the players will
Oh
show
yeah.
up.
No, they're showing that. Yeah.
And they do that, and Hakim Ziyech got a big hug from his mom
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
when he got to the semi-final, like just these sort of things. And like the World Cup is a very isolating atmosphere.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing, like if England were to do something like that, as soon as they get out, like the press would savage the wives and children, like, oh, they were a distraction, they were
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
this and that. Um, it's one of those things, right? Like where
Yeah.
if you're a coach seems to think like by removing family and people from where you are, you're helping them become more professional, like because it prevents emotional things coming up,
Yeah.
especially if you've got personal issues in your life, and coaches don't want to get involved with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think we know at this day and age, like if you want to trying to suppress emotions is not the way you control people who are very emotional. Can help them.
No. It's not going to
Can help.
help control those emotions if they're already very emotional and feeling fragile.
It's
Yeah.
like you help them to learn to use it as a tool to help them, right? And
Yeah.
obviously, if you don't get along with your family, don't invite them to your World Cup hotel thing with that you're coming with. Like, don't do that. Like, that's gonna end badly.
Oh
You
man.
and your wife are going through a bit of a divorce, and maybe tell her to stay home with the kids. That's probably for the best.
Probably at that point, yeah.
But if you're in a happy home situation and it's tough and lonely out there, and you're just very stressed out about whatever's happening at the game, why not? Why not your mom to talk to, or your wife,
Yeah,
partner?
exactly.
It makes sense to me. What's more calming than getting to play with your kids after a really stressful game, seeing them be happy that in front of you, as opposed to watching them on a Zoom call. It's not the
Yeah,
same.
yeah. It's not the same. It's saying it allows for that de-stress and that decompression, so that
And like,
helps them get back into the game mode for the next game quicker. So they're
and
not
also like,
caught up.
I feel like it also keeps you grounded. Like your
Mm.
family's there, they're gonna give you shit, like as all good families do. Like
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
you motivated, but also like keep you from being, like I assume these people's because their families are there with them. These are not dysfunctional families. They're gonna be like both giving you like gentle crap, like gentle ribbing to keep you grounded, but also be like, we're very proud. You've done really well.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it thought
Exactly.
that you like the sort of thing like it can be a load taken off the coach because also he's only been there 3 months. He doesn't know everybody's personalities and
Yeah, yeah,
things.
exactly.
He just goes, okay, like they're gonna help you keep emotionally grounded. I'm gonna talk about tactics and keep you motivated and like
Yeah.
inspired well and in the tournament.
It's that. It means he can concentrate on the football side of things, right? It's that. He hasn't been there long enough really to understand all the ins and outs. He
Yeah,
can just take some of that away and focus on the football. Still has to do a little bit of it, but focus on the football.
yeah. And that's like to paraphrase, well deserved Morocco going
Yeah.
ahead. That clearly were the better side on the day. Basically
Hmm.
outplayed Portugal by- with their counter-attacking style. They were never afraid to push forward. So Portugal always had to keep, they could never properly attack and go all out, even when they were a goal down.
Yeah.
And like realistically, Bruno played very, very well, but the rest of Portugal was empty. There's like, yeah, they have a lot of good players, and I think Bruno Fernandes could be an incredible leader for this team. And hopefully, as a Man United fan, I hope he takes this frustration and anger that he's feeling now back to United and does something positive with it
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
help us through the rest of the season. But yeah, the Portuguese team, they this is probably the first time they played an opponent who was gonna test them properly. Um,
Yeah.
in a way that even South Korea, that game they kind of fell asleep,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like that was a warning shot. Whereas Portugal tried to beat Morocco all game, and they were behind. They couldn't fall asleep, and Morocco, held them off and made the right tactical changes to counter what Portugal were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was the thing. This is like the one where the game where they met a team that was going to counter them, was going to contain, move, and do that. So, and they did it very well, Morocco. So
Yeah,
almost the perfect foil for Portugal.
yeah. Now, just as a side note, so Morocco get to play France, so they play the three countries that have colonized Morocco throughout history. But
Yeah,
also, as I realize, they also at some point colonized Portugal, Spain, and France. So,
yeah.
deep histories we're
Deep
dealing with
history.
here.
Yes.
Um, and we had the ancient rivalry, uh,
Hmm.
the England versus France, the old enemy for both sides.
Yeah. Exactly.
So uh, this game you all watched. I'm very, very impressed by your son's analysis of the game because he was on point so many times
Yeah. Yeah.
and called what was going to happen. So, like, well done to him as a good understanding of the game at his age. Like talking about, oh, they should make this sort of change to bring this guy on to attack on these sides. And look, I wouldn't talk like that at 8 about football games.
No, neither. No, he has a lot of deep understanding of the tactical knowledges of it. That's yeah, really
That
really interesting to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking about, oh, this guy's starting instead of this player. He's like, oh yeah, because he's better defensively for this side, right? And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Ah, exactly. And the way he understood why the VAR thing worked, because at first I thought he would just be confused, unfortunately, and it's a rule and stuff. It is not easy to understand
no,
for adults, by the way.
yeah,
And then when we were explaining it to him, he goes, it's only when they're not sure if it's actually a goal, like for offsides and a red card, and then he's like, and handballs, and we're like, exactly right.
Yeah.
Like he just thought about it, he's like, okay, the big things, like that's it.
Yeah.
He understood what we meant, but when VAR can be used, and it was like, yeah, really, really good. But also, be very, very remiss of me if I did not mention that Connor also shows a very, very deep understanding of the game. If a player has a high FIFA rating, they're a good player. And
Yeah.
that's,
He understands.
like at his age, he understands.
Yeah.
Bigger number, better.
This player is the better player, therefore they're good.
It's like, you win at FIFA by having higher number than the opposition. I'm just like, yes. Like, he gets it.
It was, very classic.
But he did also call like, oh, I feel like, because at first he was like, oh, I'm going to support England, they're doing, and then suddenly at one point he was like, oh, I feel it changing. I think France is going to win now. I'm going to support France. And then they scored a goal a few minutes later. So he actually called it.
Yeah. You can see the change coming.
And it kind of came against the run of play. France. Incredible goal from
Amazing. Yeah.
Chimini scored an incredible goal there, and Olivier Giroud. I mean, I know he's an ex-Chelsea man, so you must have a bit of a soft spot for him, but how good is Olivier? Just goes in, does the dirty work, just happy. We talk about cavalrymen have to be convinced, they have to dig trenches, and infantrymen do it because they know. He knows. He's happy to dig in, play dirty, and dig the trenches. I love to see it. Such a model pro, such a good player.
And that was true the last World Cup, right? He was the one that was digging in for France and could be relied on, and he's just doing it again.
Yeah.
If there needs to be a goal, there's Giroud.
And just this time he's actually scoring the goals, whereas in the last World Cup he kind of almost didn't need to. He was drawing the defense so much.
He was providing all the assists in one way or another last time, right? And this time, it's sort of doing that, but
Griezmann and Mbappe and co were just getting the goals around him, and he wasn't needed to score. But today, when France need him though, he's been getting up and scoring goals. Like you and I thought before the tournament, with the best current player in the world, Karim Benzema, getting injured and not playing, that was a big blow for France. And then we remembered, France, they have a ton of good players.
That's right. Got some other people there.
They'll have Giroud. He'll do Giroud things, and then we look.
Exactly.
Yeah, I forgot. Giroud things are actually quite good.
Yeah. But no, Giroud definitely showed his class today as well, and just dug it in. And they needed a goal, and who else? He was there, and got his goal.
Absolutely. And he was the difference, I think, in many ways between the two sides. Because he was always providing that attacking threat and threatening that the English defense when they tried to get out and get goals. Like, it's very. I know a lot of people in England were defending the players and and I get it. I do get it. But they had if you don't count the 2 penalties, because obviously penalties make your XG much higher. Their XG was less than 1.
Oh yeah, no.
That's a very they didn't create real chances other than the penalties, and both penalties were really defensive errors rather than
100%,
where we have to stop them and we have to do what we have to do.
No, exactly, and you're right. England didn't really threaten a lot. Sort of like they were threatening, but they weren't. Say the XGs were low, because they weren't able to get shots away or good quality shots on target. Other than the defensive, penalties that they managed to draw. And to be fair, that was sort of how that game was going, where England was sort of roundabout, and England and France was just putting in the defensive work. They were both reasonably soft penalties, I guess no, actually both of them were super soft penalties that didn't need to happen from France, but they did. Um, England just didn't have that finishing touch, that bit of space and that spark to do something. And France had two moments of that, where they had two players that stood up and were like, "We're going to get this shot, and we're going to score a goal," and they did. That was a
I,
big difference.
I think it would be very remiss of me if I didn't mention, I think, the guy who probably has been France's best player all tournament, and he put in another great performance. Antoine Griezmann,
Oh yeah,
incredible performance from him. Just going toe to toe with that strong English midfield with players like Foden, Henderson, and Bellingham. Is
yeah,
a like not taking a step back. Yeah, very very good performance for France. Basically, pretty much every good move they had started with him.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so many times also making crucial interceptions to
Yeah,
recover
yeah,
the ball or prevent, slow down an attack.
yeah,
It, so it's this thing where France, Didier Deschamps, and England's Gareth Southgate. There's this big argument about from both, and France freaking won the World Cup, by the way. Like this is when you're spoiled, where they wonder if Didier Deschamps is too defensive to be the coach, and he's not getting the best out of the players, and vice versa. England, Gareth Southgate's not getting enough best out of the players.
yeah,
Let's analyze this openly. Even if you agree with that thing, those coaches aren't getting the best out of the players. Who will take over England
yeah,
or France? Like the only person I can think of who might come in, who'll be a more attacking coach and is old school enough to be materialistic as well as idealistic for either team that might be willing to do the job is Arsene Wenger, who's
yeah,
like in his 70s and he's
yeah,
been
yeah,
retired for 3 years.
yeah.
Sure, maybe England might be able to convince Jose Mourinho. Maybe.
Oh no, that would be amazing.
Like, it wouldn't be like a long-term thing. He'd be like, oh yeah, look, one tournament, 3 months before, Jose, come in, get the boys motivated, get them to win.
Yeah, yeah,
And Jose could do it. Like,
yeah,
maybe. And I'm like, this is like, it wouldn't really happen, right? Like, we know, so a manager like that level, like you're talking about one guy who's retired and another guy who's at Roma right now, and, he's kind of making a comeback, right? Don't call it a comeback, but it's a comeback.
He's doing his best to do it all. Yeah,
Yeah, and the
yeah,
like the Dutch can always lean on someone like a Louis van Gaal type, but though
yeah.
that generation of players are retiring, so I don't know who's going to be the next Dutch coach. To be fair, like it's
Mm-mm.
a very interesting question. But who would France replace them with? I can't think of a French manager like maybe Laurent Blanc,
Maybe,
maybe.
maybe.
Like I think he's like he's now managing somewhere like in Europe. I couldn't tell you where he is. Like
No,
Larry
I don't
White.
know. Yeah,
Um, like, so there's A, there's nobody there. B, even if you could convince, let's say, Joseph Guardiola goes, yeah, I'm gonna take England through.
yeah,
Like, how much time does he have to mold England into a team? Like, Guardiola is the idealist of idealist managers,
yeah,
right? Like, sure, he's happy to be pragmatic and do things that need to be changed for the game state, and he will tinker, and he will tinker, and he will tinker to get it right. Like he
yeah,
doesn't need to play the perfect game, but he needs to play the game that'll win. Like, he wants to win that tactical duel.
yeah, yeah.
But
Okay.
like he's going to come up against managers in international football who are happy to low block and then shift to mid block to unsettle them, or just go, oh yeah, let's just throw long balls at you. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, or a team that'll just go, okay, in the first 10 minutes, in the first 5 minutes of the game, one of our midfielders are just going to kick a player in your team in the chest, just to, like, set the tone.
Just
And
yeah, make sure we're
that's the
all on the
strategy.
same page here.
And, like, that's the strategy. And, like,
Yeah,
what are you going to do in that situation? I mean, I'm sure Guardiola knows this, and he has a plan for all of it. But I'm just struggling. Like, it's still difficult for me to see him do that. And like, look, Guardiola's only won a Champions League with one team. Like,
Yeah.
I think every international team would love to have Carlo Ancelotti as
Oh
their
yeah.
manager. But he's managing Real Madrid. Why is he gonna go manage an international?
Yeah. Well,
Like,
he's not.
Carlo
Yeah.
Ancelotti could probably make this England team incredible.
Yeah. Of
That's
course.
one guy. But once again, why would he go?
Yeah.
Like, he's at Real Madrid. He's winning Champions Leagues.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not gonna get rid of him. And I think Real Madrid are the perfect club for Carlo Ancelotti. He's just there to go. These are the best players I have available to me. I'll mold them in this way to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
You know, Bigger number equal better in his head.
Exactly.
And he does that. Um,
100. Yeah.
and this is like Croatia, as idealistic as they look, and they are doing what they're also being materialistic. Like I said, they're
Yeah.
going the best players. The best way the most likely way we are to win games is by passing and doing this, and we just have to hope we get the chance and win. It's
Yeah.
like the English cricket team. They have to attack because they can't win by playing defense.
No.
And it's not a look, we'll fall back to our defense. We have it in our locker. They're like, no, if we keep it in our locker, we're never going to attack in full because that's the only way we can win. So they never considered defending in Test cricket, by the way. Like, I'm talking about their Test team.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And like, that's become the philosophy. Like, we lean on what we're good at.
Yeah.
And like, Croatia are leaning on what they're good at. Even Brazil leaning on what they're good at. Like, I like people at Tifo got a lot of crap because they were praising Chiche for going and scouting a lot of the Brazilian players in their games in Europe to understand how they fit in the European system,
All
to
right. Yeah.
integrate more of it into a Brazilian system. And and he was saying like, look, I don't think a traditional Brazilian system or a European system is better. He's just going there. If I do things that are familiar to them, I'm more likely to get a better outcome from them on the pitch, which is
Which makes
true.
sense. Yeah.
And Tiche is not doing. While his team were fun to watch, and like for you and I who love watching the tactical side of games and just watching the moves and what they do, uh, they were not Joga Bonito like Philip Scolari 2002 team, or even the 2006 team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, the so there was the issue there, and then the two teams that had good club managers, like Luis Enrique at Spain, Hansi Flick in Germany, they one got out in the round of 16 and the other got kicked out in the group stage. And
Yeah.
Spain
Exactly.
nearly didn't make it out of the group stage. Very
Yeah.
close.
It was mostly helped by the big ghost up win against Costa Rica. That's what let them basically get out. Like without that, they would have been a lot less secure in their
Yeah.
qualification. So
Like, the realistically, Louis van Gaal has overperformed with his Dutch teams. They're not as good as Golden Generation-esque Dutch teams. Like, you and
yeah,
I have grown up with a goldenish generation. Like, we're too young to remember the original Dutch golden generation that
yeah,
made
yeah,
back finals. But we're talking about the late 90s, early 2000s Dutch teams, and then the teams that made the team that made the finals in 2010. That they're much better than the teams in the 2010s, right? Like,
yeah.
you're comparing doesn't have comparing players like Schneider, Robin, to players like Memphis Depay, good player, but not in the same class.
Not in the same, no. Exactly.
But he's retired, and it's an emblem. It's an emblem, right? We're talking the only other coach like him who could help is Arsene Wenger, and he's also already retired.
Yeah, exactly.
And so perhaps that sort of coach is gone, right? We're not talking a guy with his pedigree at club level who's willing to take a national job.
Yeah,
Like, that doesn't exist. Like, a lot of people think about, oh yeah, Graham Potter would have been a good England manager. Graham Potter is managing Chelsea.
yeah.
Like, he's not. He doesn't want to manage England right now.
No. Yeah. It wouldn't be on his radar at the moment. He's like, no, I'm doing this job. This is paying lots of money. So,
Eddie Howe
and
is
it's a
managing Newcastle, so he's not
yeah,
gonna, you know. And I think Eddie Howe would be an incredible manager for England. Don't get
yeah,
me wrong, but he's doing an incredible job at Newcastle, so he's not going to. Uh, Brendan Rodgers, he's Welsh. He doesn't want to. Um,
yes,
and that's, like, there's really nobody else who can do it. And, like, all those club coaches need time to implement the system. Graham Potter needs teams to learn his system.
yeah,
Eddie
exactly.
Howe needs teams to buy into his philosophy.
Yeah,
Like, all these things that, that take time, and you don't really get that. And Gareth Southgate's already done that. Players like him. They love
yeah,
that they feel like he listens to them, and like there's an open door policy. He understands how to get the best out of them. But he's a naturally conservative manager, and
yeah,
like he's the sort of guy, like if he was managing a team in the Premier League, none of us would be worried about facing him,
yeah, exactly. It would
right?
be
Like that's what a manager he is.
yeah. The thing you'd be worried about was how much it's just going to be park the bus to get past this. They're just going to
Yeah,
play for the nil or draw. Something like that.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So it's this thing, like, what is the ideal way to manage a team at international level? Like, and it's a
yeah.
question.
I think you brought up a good point there as well, in that the good club coaches have a system and they have a philosophy, and they come to a club and they build their team and they have the chance. Don't really. That's not how you manage the national side. You get a little bit of that with your selections. Who do you select? But you don't really get the chance to build a philosophy and build a structure. You sort of have to. You do that by selecting players, but you don't. That's
Spain is an exception. Spain
Spain's
is
yeah,
an exception. Like we
yeah.
put Spain to one side. Like there's no
Well,
other country like Spain. Like in
Spain
footballing terms.
yeah, Spain proves the rule, right? It's the exception that proves the rule. And nobody else gets to do Spain stuff. They don't
Yeah.
don't have that. So you don't have the ability to build a
England literally has every Premier League player has a different manager playing a different style.
exactly.
Like
So they've got to somehow then come and learn a new style. No, you need a manager that
ditto
is
Germany, ditto Italy.
yeah,
Probably also France. Outside of PSG, every other team plays like this. Nobody can play like PSG.
yeah.
But your PSG style is not League One style.
No, no.
So, like, I've heard suggestions like Thomas Tuchel. Like, no, Thomas Tuchel can't do his system in England.
No, exactly.
And also, okay, assuming he would take the job, uh, let's assume, like, for example, that he's willing to take the job. Like, Thomas Tuchel is not gonna implement his system in England. Jurgen Klopp is not gonna get the team to understand what time, the system of pressing that you
Yeah,
need. They need a more simple system of pressing,
exactly.
like Morocco did with Portugal.
Exactly. I think that's the thing. You got to have a simple version of whatever you're doing, so that because they're only going to have a couple of weeks at best before a major tournament to get up to speed with it, and they're playing whatever system they are in their club.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly got to get them. No, you got to play this completely different thing. No, you got to have some sort of hybrid system that sort of fits in with all the clubs that they come from.
And
Which is
I'll
where
put South America to a side as well, because
yeah,
Argentina has a GOAT level player. So,
yeah.
build the team around him. Don't be an idiot. Build a team around him.
Well, that's the other option, right? And
And
that's the
like,
South American way almost exclusively. It's
and
like,
Brazil are are Spain and Netherlands-esque. There is a natural philosophy. We know the certain type of players Brazil will always produce.
yeah.
They're going to be
Well,
highly technical. There's going to be, like, they're going to be very positionally aware. It's up to the coach to decide who to pick for their system.
yeah, exactly. I
Like,
think
but it has to be simple. Like, they never try to overcomplicate it.
no. It's a yeah, and that's more just they've got a style that's associated with their team, and they will continue to pick that. And people and the Brazilian players know what that style is, so that's how they play. So if they want to play, the national team, you've got to that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna play like that. So I
Yeah,
don't know if it's so much that it produces players like that, or that more the fact that you have to, the player has to mold himself like that if they want to play, they're good enough
yeah.
to play.
Well, yeah, and like to a certain degree, Brazil's almost not in control of the type of players it produces because so many of their young players move to Europe
Yeah, exactly.
as start the higher part of their education, like when they're 18 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's
like
mean
I
it's,
don't know what
but
Croatia's gonna do when this generation of incredible passers retire.
it will just have to be a new philosophy, I guess, or a new way. Well, it depends. Maybe they
They
get
just have to
another
wait for the
batch of.
current crop of, because this is one of those things when you have a golden generation that ages well, is you're almost losing a generation after because they don't get their opportunities to play for the national side,
Mm,
and then they don't develop together on a national level. Like they
yeah,
can't
yeah,
play with the national team because they haven't had enough time with the national team. They're good
I mean,
players. They're still gonna be. They're probably like Croatia's gonna produce enough good players that they'll always be at. They're always probably gonna qualify for World
yeah,
Cups, European Cups. But it's what they do at the tournament. That'll make the. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see what happens after this golden generation. Like it's yeah, it's this weird situation. Like you and I were like I don't know if I told you. Like I was saying like when Saudi Arabia lined up with a 4-4-2 against Argentina, I was like, I love a team that plays 4-4-2 unironically. Like
yeah, yeah.
this
They
is a
did say,
real 4-4-2. There's no false nine here. They're two strikers. They're out
yeah,
to get balls. The winger, the right and left mids are there to go to the corner flag and
yeah,
whatnot.
exactly. It was a standard 4-4-2, and like the classic um, tactics that go along with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on from that, let us talk about the upcoming games. We
Yeah,
have semi-finals. We are at the squeaky bum time of this World Cup.
definitely.
Oof.
Oof.
Yeah, we've got first up Argentina versus Croatia.
Oof.
Literally the geriatrics versus the goat.
Yeah.
But oof, this is what we gotta say. Like, how much ball can Argentina realistically expect to have? And what? And I don't think Croatia are gonna be one of those teams that specifically plan against Messi. They're planning against the system, right?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it is going to be interesting because it is sort of a clash of styles, but at the same point, both of them have the style to beat the other. Like it feels like Croatia's style feels a good way of beating Argentina. Like it's hold the ball, don't give them the ball, keep it away. But
Also, oh god,
I was just saying, but the Argentine style seems a good way to defeat the Croatian one. Which is hard pressing, get in there, disrupt their passing, and win the ball back quickly, and then hold it themselves, and
yeah.
and and work the ball left and right, left and right. Because yeah, Argentina to me very side to side tiki taka, well not tiki taka, but very side to side passing, and
Yeah.
Croatia's very vertical. You know, Modric will run into a gap, and if it doesn't work, then he'll stop and pass back, and the ball will go back, and Kovacic will run down the other side and see if something's happening. And thing. So it's very, very vertical sort of movement. So it could be interesting.
Yeah. I will say Croatia win by like this conversation with like on Tifa once again where they were saying that Croatia are a team that almost win by absorbing the energy out of the other team,
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
mental
definitely.
energy, and
Yes.
like basically making the other team lose their patience. And I just sit there going like it's gonna use a gaming metaphor. Like whenever you have like a tactical like RPG game, like or a squad RPG type game, like
Mm-mm.
or like a WoW raid, like you have these like you have your tanks, you have your DPS, you have your like versatility and whatnot. All of these things. The thing is, like, you can never make with these games. There's always a problem when you try to make a guy whose ability is debuffs, because
Yeah.
to make them useful, there'll always be a guy who comes up with a formation with like the whole team is just debuffers, and they have a secondary ability that they're not as good at as a guy who mains it, but because we're debuffing the other team, we'll be better on the day,
Yeah.
and we win games.
Yeah.
Like you either have no debuffers in the game, or they're pointless to play because they're underpowered as hell. Because if they're even mildly useful, somebody will break the game
Yeah.
with it. Like nobody can play anything else.
Exactly.
It's like card games. Like a fast meta where everybody just hits face is better than the meta where everybody's playing control. Like, because you can't play anything else. Like, control is too powerful.
Yeah.
Like Croatia are that team that sap the energy out of you. They're all spoilers. They're all they counter everything good. Argentina have lost their nerve this World Cup several times. They lost their nerve against Saudi Arabia. They
Yeah.
held their nerve against Mexico. Um, they lost their nerve against Holland.
I don't know if they lost their nerve. They lost their.
They really
They
know
lost
how
their.
to deal with the long ball, and
Yeah.
like it was, it the if the Dutch kept doing that, that would have been a very difficult game for Argentina in extra time.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel that the extra time sort of helped. There was the problem in the second half that, for me, Argentina lost control of themselves. That was part of the issue. I didn't really feel like they'd lost their nerve. They were facing things that they were having problems with, but I felt like the emotions of the game had boiled too much into it. That was leading to it. And extra time did the end of the second half and that time before extra time seemed to, whether it was just everybody being tired or whatever,
yeah.
the extra time halves weren't as feisty, weren't as confrontational, weren't the same. There wasn't.
It's almost like both sides said, okay, truce, we'll do penalty shootouts and figure this out. Because we're
figured out that way. Yeah.
Of energy. But like Argentina shouldn't have ever been in that position in that
No,
game.
no. 100% no. They should not have got back like that.
You can praise Louis van Gaal rightfully as much as we want. That should have never worked.
It should not have worked. There's no way. And, I mean, it nearly didn't. It was, once again, another foolish tackle, or whatever, challenge in the air at the end of the second half, like deep into added time, that gave Holland their free kick right on the edge of the penalty box, and then they worked magic to score a goal, like actual magic.
Yes.
But, like, there was no reason to give away that free kick. Like, the Argentine players just...
Yeah,
they
but
did
like
it
that
themselves.
first goal as well, like that was such a soft goal. Like the first Dutch goal was such a soft goal to concede.
Yeah, but that was a soft goal, but at least that was the Dutch playing the football that they had set up for, and was that was causing problems.
Like
They got
if
their
that
goal.
was, like, don't get me wrong, if that was the first long ball the Dutch kicked up and they scored from it, and Argentina were like, oh, okay, I could give it to them because that happens. Change of tactic. First time they tried, they luck into a thing, and they're like, oh, okay, you've changed tactics. We now have to do our change.
Yeah.
But they've been pumping long balls for a while.
Yeah.
And they kept doing it because Argentina kept losing their shape defensively, because they didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, come on. We all deal with long balls. Like, that's the purest form of the game.
Yeah. How can you not know how to deal with this? But I felt that it was more than the rest of what was happening in the game, where there was lots of emotions in that game, and it was a very fiery game, and there was things being said and all sorts going on that contributed there, and it was a Dutch-Argentine, knockout game. There's history there, and that was bubbling up, and had been built up in the press a little bit, and whatever reason that seems to have got into the players as well, and there was just lots going on in that. And I think that didn't help Argentina. Feel like they lost control of themselves more than they lost their nerve. Like, it may just be semantics, but it's just To me, it's a slight difference between they should have been able to deal with what happened. Like Lost in Nerve says to me that they never would have been able to deal with it, but they should have been able to. But because of what was happening in the game and how everything gone and just
Yeah,
everything, they let it get where they really
yeah,
shouldn't.
yeah. But this is the thing: the crowd is going to be on their side against Croatia, and Croatia are
Yeah,
used to that.
yeah,
Croatia aren't a team that collect cards. They don't.
no,
They're patient. They will do it strategically rather than because the in the spur of the moment sort of thing. Um, Argentina to beat Croatia without penalties is gonna have to be patient and moment of brilliance that Croatia can't counter, and then basically hope that keep Croatia from scoring.
yeah, yeah,
Because they're not gonna give up. They're gonna have the ball. They'll patiently wait and wait and wait for you to make a mistake. If
exactly.
Argentina don't make a mistake, they will win this game. Like
Yeah,
that is how you beat Croatia. That is, but
just play the perfect game.
but this is not a perfect Argentinian team by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't
No, no,
think we've seen a perfect performance from them in any
no,
of their games.
no, no.
So
I agree
I'm
on that.
just gonna call it. This game's gonna be a draw. It's gonna be 1-1. I don't know who's gonna win in penalties. I
Oof.
just can't pick it. So I'm just gonna say it's a draw. 1-1.
I'm gonna give this to Argentina in possibly an extra time. But yeah, 2-1. I think you're right. There's going
One.
to be the swing. I think they're going to get up in extra time, and then Croatia's going to do Croatia things. But I think it's just they're going to
Side
hold.
note: I do want Argentina and Messi to win.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there. But I will not complain if Croatia win. Like they're a good team, well deserved.
Oh,
Go
very
ahead.
good team. And yeah, if Croatia wins, know how they've won, and it's by playing the football they've been playing, and they've been playing it so well that you cannot criticize them and be like, you just look at them and go, you're just playing so well, just crazy. So,
Boring. It
no,
feels boring on paper, but it's not. They're
no.
incredible.
Watching them is not boring at all. It is, yeah, memorizing. I would say, like you just watch them, you're just like, this is so good and so good to watch.
Yeah. Then we have France versus Morocco. The
Yeah,
Africa versus the country that colonized most of Africa. Now, a lot of these players from Morocco also have, they're born in France and Spain as well.
mm,
Um, there's a long history between these two countries. Like Morocco will know the type of what this French team can bring, and I think this French team are very well aware of what this Moroccan team can bring. There's not going to be any surprises. Oof. How do you call this one?
how do you call it indeed? I mean, I just look at it and just go with my heart, and I want Morocco to win at this point. They're playing too well. They're too good a team. It's too good a storyline. Like, let's just go Morocco. Come on, do it again. Beat
Scoreline.
France. Go to the final.
What's the scoreline?
Scoreline? I think I'd stick with the 1-0. Like, that seems to be like, it's real hard to score against Morocco. That seems to be just something of theirs. Could go penalties. That's a possibility. Maybe it's the 0-0 through the penalties again. Um, but yeah, I think I'd stick with the 1-0 and just go.
I mean, I am gonna take a bit of an out here. I do think Morocco's gonna win if Amrabat in their central midfield, who's basically been part of every single good move that Morocco has had this World
Hmm.
Cup, recovering the ball, pushing forward, and and contribute, guarding the counters. He's
Mm,
available. Yeah, I think Morocco also. I also agree. I think Morocco wins. I think if he's available and he can play all game, like all 90 minutes, Morocco can win this game too. I think they have the defensive shape and tactics to keep France from scoring,
yeah.
and I think England showed how you can keep France from scoring. Um, they made a few soft mistakes,
Yeah.
to let France score this game. I don't think Morocco are going to do that because they're not as nervous. They've already, quote unquote, won the World Cup. They're
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
with house.
They're
Like
definitely playing house money now. Yeah.
whatever happens, they're gonna go home as heroes. People are gonna love them forever. Like
Yeah.
they're already an immortal team
Yeah.
as far
Exactly.
as Morocco and maybe even Africa are concerned.
Yeah.
So France, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. This is heart, not head saying. Like, my head's like obviously France is gonna win. They've
Yeah.
got
No.
better players. They've got an incredible setup, and like they gel well together. There's chemistry. Yeah, I just think Morocco's gonna win. That's that's what I think as well. 2-0 for me, just because I think they're gonna get an early goal, and I think France is gonna chase and chase and chase, and one of the times they're just gonna chase too far. You'll get the second goal to seal the win.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But yeah, where are we going? Argentina, Morocco?
Argentina, Morocco. That's the final. Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
And obviously a Messi win. He lifts the World Cup, cements his legacy, and can retire from international football.
If Argentina and Morocco go to the finals, I would love for Morocco to win. But I would also love for Messi to win.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a like, it's almost a, well, at the end of the day, football's a winner here.
Yeah.
If that happens. Now,
Football will be the winner on the day in that case, yes.
there's like a channel I follow called Zealand Football, which is about this American guy who plays a lot of Football Manager.
Alright,
And
yeah.
as a fun exercise, he did 100 Football Manager simulations of the World Cup.
Alright.
And yeah, basically the most number of wins was Brazil, something like 12.
Yeah.
Oh, no other team won more than won more than 10 times.
Alright, yeah.
But yeah, Morocco won with one
Ooh.
nation.
Wow.
So
Maybe we were
100
living in that
squad,
world.
or maybe living in that timeline.
Yeah.
And yeah, why not?
Why not? I wouldn't be too upset because it's just an amazing. Morocco's playing so well. It's finally someone that's
Morocco
not.
in the finals would be the one team that would have more fans than Argentina.
Potentially, yeah. I don't know if in the stadium because the Argentine it's still Messi and he's very well supported at this
Oh, I
World Cup.
agree he's very well supported, but I think the Morocco fans are there in numbers. Like, and
They are
have
there in
been-
numbers, yeah.
And like they're also like living on house money. They expected the team to be maybe get to the round of 16 and be happy with that, but
Yeah, yeah.
they-
Who knows how far they can go now? There's a dream,
knows?
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think that's all we have time for today.
Hmm?
Thanks very much for listening, and look forward to hearing from you next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, be even more. Find 642 Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.